What drives someone to write love letters to a serial killer? To send them money, photos, even marriage proposals? It sounds unbelievable, but with some of the world's most dangerous criminals, this actually happened. From death row proposals to fan mail arriving by the hundreds, some of the most infamous killers in history have managed to charm or disturb the hearts of strangers. Welcome back to Prison Stories. In this video, we're diving into the twisted world of serial killers who had fans. And what you're about to hear will blur the line between fascination and obsession. But why would anyone fall in love with a killer? What makes a person look past the blood and see something romantic? Psychologists have a name for it: hybristophilia. It's a condition where people feel sexual or romantic attraction to those who've committed violent crimes. And while it sounds unthinkable, there are several reasons why it happens. Some believe they can fix or heal the killer, a kind of savior complex. Others are drawn to the notoriety and media attention that comes with associating with someone infamous. For some, it's about control, knowing exactly where the person is, and that they belong to them locked away. Whatever the reason, there is no denying the fact that some of the infamous serial killers shared the celebrity status among women. Let's find out more.
Each day, the courtroom is filled with spectators drawn by a fascination with Theodore Bundy himself or by the gruesome details of the crimes.
In the late 1970s, the trial of Ted Bundy didn't feel like a murder case. It felt like a concert. The courtroom was packed, not just with reporters and lawyers, but with young women. Some of them traveled from out of state. They skipped classes, took time off work, just to see him in person. They wore their best clothes, fixed their hair, and sat in the front rows, whispering to each other like fans at a pop star show. The most disturbing part? Many of these women looked eerily similar to Bundy's victims, long brown hair parted in the middle. And yet, they didn't come to mourn. They came to swoon.
Every time he turns around, I kind of get that feeling, oh no, he's gonna get me next,
But yeah,
he just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody. You try to imagine yourself in his place and to see how he's feeling looking at the pillows with blood.
Bundy received hundreds of love letters in jail. Some contained photos, some explicit. Others wrote about how they understood him, how they believed he was framed, or that he was simply misunderstood. And then came Carolyn Boone, one of his most infamous admirers. She believed in his innocence so deeply that she testified on his behalf, moved across states to be near him, and even brought their child into the world while he was on death row. During a court hearing, Bundy proposed to her on the witness stand, in front of the judge, the jury, and a nation watching on TV. Since he was representing himself legally, the proposal was valid under Florida law, and they were legally married right there in court. It was perhaps the most bizarre twist in a case already soaked in horror. Bundy was no longer just a killer. He had become a celebrity, a symbol of charisma, mystery, and danger. And for some women, that made him irresistible. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez was the stuff of nightmares. Dubbed the Night Stalker, he terrorized California in the mid-1980s, breaking into homes, murdering men, and brutally assaulting women. He left satanic symbols at the crime scenes and even told one of his victims, "Swear to Satan." And yet, women across the country became obsessed with him. When Ramirez appeared in court, he waved at the cameras and smirked. He had long black hair, a sharp jawline, an aura of danger that some found irresistible. Girls showed up to his trial dressed up, giggling, whispering, passing notes with his name written on them like teenagers in school. He received bags of fan mail while in prison, letters filled with confessions of love, lipstick kisses, and promises of loyalty.
I just wanted to see what he looked like. I think he's cute.
One of those letters came from Doreen Leoe, a journalist who became so obsessed that she visited him more than 75 times in prison. She believed he was innocent, called him kind and gentle, and eventually married him in 1996, while he was on death row. Doreen told the press she believed he was her soulmate, and when asked about his crimes, she simply said, "The man I know isn't capable of those things." Ramirez never showed remorse. He embraced his identity as a villain, once even saying, "You don't understand me. You're not expected to. You are not capable of it." Still, the fan letters kept coming. To some, his evil was exactly what made him exciting. Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes shocked the world. Known as a Milwaukee cannibal, he was responsible for the brutal murders of 17 young men and boys, many of whom he not only killed, but also dismembered and engaged in unspeakable acts of necrophilia and cannibalism. Dahmer was a seemingly ordinary man, a quiet, reserved figure who blended into society. He wasn't the typical image of a serial killer. No grandiose theatrics or outwardly menacing persona. He was, in many ways, just another neighbor on the block, until the truth came to light. His arrest in 1991 didn't just spark a media frenzy. It turned Dahmer into a celebrity. People couldn't look away from the horror that was unfolding on their screens, and the public's curiosity only deepened as the details of his gruesome crimes were revealed. What's most unsettling is how Dahmer became a figure of fascination, a man who, despite his horrific acts, seemed to have a strange appeal to some. Women started writing him fan letters, declaring their undying affection. They even visited him in prison, bringing him gifts and offering support. Some believed he was a misunderstood genius or a tragic figure who had been somehow lost. One letter from a woman even read, "I think you're misunderstood. I just wanted to let you know that I don't think you're a monster." Dahmer, though initially seemingly indifferent to the attention, began to embrace his role as a spectacle. In interviews, he came across as calm, almost attached, recounting his killings with a sense of regret and vulnerability. Some found this demeanor unsettlingly sincere, while others saw it as evidence of his complexity, a man who had perhaps been driven to evil by forces beyond his control. But despite the grotesque nature of his crimes, Dahmer's fame only grew. The public continued to consume every detail of his life, even after his death in 1994, when he was murdered by a fellow inmate. Dahmer's legacy continues to live on in pop culture. Films, documentaries, and even merchandise dedicated to his notorious image. His case reminds us that the line between infamy and obsession can be blurred, and that some killers, even in death, never fade from the public's consciousness. The phenomenon of hybristophilia, the attraction to those who commit extreme acts of violence, reminds us that the boundaries between love, power, and terror are often far more fragile than we care to admit. What drives us to celebrate the fame of a killer? And what does it mean for society when evil becomes entertainment? As we close, remember that curiosity is natural, but we must always approach it with a sense of responsibility, recognizing the real lives lost and the lives shattered in the wake of these killers' actions. Thank you for watching Prison Stories. If you liked the video, hit like and share. Subscribe for more gripping tales from us.